Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I talk about anything and everything, well, horror. I know I've been gone for a while. I was in the process of moving, so I was not able to record YouTube for a long time. So I apologize. I been gone for about a month, a little over a month now. But I'm back, and I'm really excited to dive into what I'm going to be talking about today. And if you like what you're seeing, you can like and subscribe down below. Also, turn on your post notifications so that you can always be notified when I post a new video. And yeah, I also have a podcast called the We Love Horror Podcast. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, yeah, anywhere that you stream your podcasts. I also have Patreon, I have merch. So if you guys are interested in following me on there as well, that's where you can find all my podcast stuff. And yeah, with that being said, let's get into the video. So with Scream 6 right around the corner, which I'm so fucking excited about. I don't think I've been this excited for a Scream movie since Scream 4 came out, and that was like 12 years ago. So I'm just really excited. This movie looks so much different than the other Scream films that we've seen. So I'm really excited to see what they do. And in honor of Scream 6 coming out next week, I'm going to be doing Scream related content all week leading up to Scream 6. So the first video that I wanted to do, I was really excited about it. I'm going to be tier list ranking all of the Scream killers from the first 5 films. I'm really excited to be talking about this, so let's hop right into that. All right, guys, so here's my tier list. At the very top, I have classic Ghostface, which these are just ghost faces that are perfection to me, in my opinion. They're the best of the best. They can't be any tier lower than top tier. So yeah, that's going to be the classic Ghostface tier. The next tier is going to be almost perfect. These are ghost faces that are uh, just below, just barely missed the mark for me personally, as far as being top tier, but they are still great killers. So yeah, that is going to be my next tier, almost perfect. The tier down from that is going to be the I'm bored tier. These are killers from the Scream franchise that aren't exactly bottom tier, but they're not super memorable either. Like they, whether regarding their motive or, you know, just overall presence in the film. These are killers that I don't quite remember as well, or maybe not care for as much as the other ones above them. So that's going to be the I'm bored tier. And then just fucking die already. Like, there's only one person on this list, I'll tell you right now, that's going to go down into this category. And I don't know if you guys can guess who that is. But yeah, so that's going to be the just fucking die already. This is going to be any of the killers from the franchise that I absolutely cannot stand. They just bug the shit out of me every time I watch the movie. So yeah, let's get into the first OG duo, Billy and Stu. So I'm going to put Billy. Obviously, he's classic Ghostface. Hands down, I think his motive for setting this whole thing in motion is one of the better motives of the franchise. I think it's really clever that he used the ruse of horror films to kind of play these little cat and mouse games with his victims. I think it's genius. I think his overall presence, he's pretty obvious, but that's the genius thing about the first film, is that they make it so obvious that you're questioning him several times throughout the film. And just the fact that, like, he messes with Sydney so much to the point where he actually like fakes his death just to, you know, get her to trust him, is on another level. And I just feel like there's another kind of element to Billy Loomis. I feel like he's almost kind of a compassionate character in a sense. Like, and that's weird for me to say because obviously he's killing people and that's obviously not good. And I think Scream 5 kind of went that route where they kind of did the dead father kind of route where she's seeing visions of him, and it almost kind of makes him more of a sympathetic character. And I often wonder when I watch the first Scream if, you know, Sydney's mother hadn't gotten with his father if things would have been different, if he wouldn't have been driven to kill. Because it's never fully said whether he has had psychotic tendencies before or if he's just always been this way, um, or something just kind of clicked in his brain after his mom left. I know that he kind of mentions it in the movie about, abandonment can lead to psychotic behavior. So I almost wonder sometimes if things would have gone differently if, this would have ever happened. So but yeah, as far as just motive goes, I just feel like his motive is just one of the best ones. And yeah, he's obviously one of the best killers. He started this whole thing. Um he's definitely the mastermind of the two for sure. So yeah, Billy is definitely going in classic Ghostface. There's no debate about that. So getting into Stu Macher, I'm going to put Stu Macher in almost perfect. And the reason why I don't have him in top tier with Billy is because he's kind of Billy's puppet, almost in a sense. He's kind of Billy's, you know, fall guy, essentially. He's basically the guy that Billy was going to frame in case he got caught. He his motive for doing it, if I'm going by what he says in the movie, peer pressure, I don't feel like that's a very strong motive. I feel like out of the two, though, Stu is definitely the more unhinged of the two. Um, and I feel like with him not having a motive or a reason to do it other than peer pressure, kind of tells me that Stu has always been kind of wanting to do something like this. He's always kind of had those psychotic tendencies, and I think they work really well with each other in the first film. I think that Matthew Lillard's performance in this film is fucking hilarious. I think he is so funny. Like, he has such memorable lines in this film. But with that being said, I think at the end of the day, he's still kind of Billy's little puppet. He's kind of Billy's pawn. And so for that reason, he's not going to go in classic Ghostface for me just because I feel like he doesn't really hold his own very well. He kind of crumbles under pressure towards the end of the film. So I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna say Stu goes into almost perfect. So going into Scream 2 territory, we're gonna start with Mickey. And I go back and forth with Mickey because his motive isn't necessarily bad. I kind of almost like his motive because it's like kind of scary. He wants to get caught and he wants to blame the movies. And that really kind of shows me that he's a true psychopath from the beginning. He Mrs. Loomis found him on a fucking serial killer message board basically. So this kind of tells me that Mickey's always wanted to do something like this. It kind of tells me that he's very unhinged. Um, but as far as memorability, memorability for me, he's very forgettable to me. I know that that's probably unpopular opinion because I know there are a lot of people that really, really like Mickey. And I will say, I have to give Mickey credit because he does a lot of the, heavy lifting in Scream 2. He gets pretty much every single kill but one. So, I mean, I do have to give him credit there. And I do also have to give him credit for fucking with Sydney so bad, like playing those mind games with him, getting her to believe that Derek's, you know, kind of his partner. And I like that whole dynamic. I like the way he fucks with Sydney's head a little bit. I think it's really fucked up. But I don't know, just as far as Scream killers for me personally, he's kind of forgettable to me. And he kind of I don't know. They play the whole, and I think that's to blame with the film as well because they kind of make him almost the Billy Loomis in this movie where he comes off very suspicious the entire movie. And so when he is revealed to be the killer, it's very obvious. And I think that's also the reason why I don't really care for Mickey as much as I do other killers in the franchise, is just because I just feel like he's so predictable. And yeah, so I'm going to go with I'm bored, unfortunately. That's going to be unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people are not going to be happy that I put him there, but Yeah, that's just, I mean, he's not almost perfect to me, and he's definitely not classic Ghostface territory. So yeah, Mickey is going in. I'm bored. Moving on to Mrs. Loomis. I love a female killer. I'm just going to start off by saying that. I love a fucking female killer, and she is unhinged in this movie. And I also really like her motive. It's just very old fashioned, as she says. It's just revenge, because she's avenging the death of her son. She's going after Sydney. And I also have to give her credit for having one of the best kills in the entire franchise. And I wouldn't say the best as in terms of like gore or violence, but it's such a shocking death. Like when it happens, you're not expecting it. When she kills Randy, it's just a very unexpected moment in the franchise. And so I have to give her credit for that as well. I also really enjoy her as a killer. I think that Laurie Metcalf's acting in this film is phenomenal. Like her wide eyes and the way she just looks so fucking crazy the entire like end scene when she's explaining to Sydney like it's just so great. I fucking love it. However, I don't think uh, do I want to put her in. I'm going to go ahead and put her in almost perfect. Yeah, I'm going to put her in almost perfect. And I think the only reason why I don't put her in classic Ghostface territory is for the simple fact that she doesn't really do much killing in Scream 2. She kind of lets Mickey do all the dirty work, and she kind of just, which is cool. I like that. But I just kind of feel like I don't know, she really doesn't have any other part in it except for, she gets one kill in the movie. I guess if she would have killed Dewey, I guess she would have gotten two, but technically she only gets one in this film. So for that, I'm going to put her in almost perfect. So moving on to Roman Bridger. He, see, I know he gets a lot of crap in this film, and I know Scream 3 gets a lot of shit in general, but I do like Roman for the most part. Whether or not you want to believe that he did all of this by himself, I mean that's kind of what you're supposed to believe because that's the only other way. They really don't they really don't hint at another killer. I know that they're in the original Scream script there was supposed to, I think Angelina was supposed to be his accomplice, and I know that there are theories out there that she was the second killer and that he just killed her off anyway. Um but as far as like his motive goes, and as far as, his whole orchestrating this entire thing, you find out in Scream 3 that he basically orchestrated all of the events of the first film. He approached Billy, showed him this video of Maureen messing around with his dad, set Billy off into motion, doing all of the stuff that he did in the first film. Um, I also like the fact that he's Sydney's half brother. Like, I think that's kind of a cool concept. I also don't understand why people give him so much crap. For start, I feel like a lot of people say that they don't see him and Sydney interact in the film a lot, and they have a big problem with that. And I don't necessarily do. I think it's kind of cool that she's never met him before. So when you get into the scene where they finally interact for the first time, it's the first time that they've ever seen each other, and I like the reaction of Sydney because she's almost kind of confused, but she's also equally as horrified when she finds out that he's her half brother. So I really like it. I don't understand why people have such beef about it. And I don't know. I think the only thing that bothers me about Roman is that he's kind of like, and I've always had this problem because for me, like, I would fucking love to have the job that he has. He's a established director. He's making horror films. He's in Hollywood. Like, he's living the fucking life, but yet he's complaining about everything that Sydney took from him, for the life that she stole from him. And it's like, dude, you have a great life. I don't know what you're complaining about. But then again, I've never been abandoned. I don't know what that's like to, have a parental figure in my life just kind of leave me at the doorstep and say, bye, fuck off. So I can't personally relate on that level. But at the same time, I'm also kind of like, well, I think you grew up just fine. You seem to be doing okay, for the most part. So, uh, Oh my gosh, where do I want to put him? I'm he's not I'm bored territory for me, and he's not just fucking die already, because I actually really like Roman. And I know people are going to say that this is very unpopular opinion. I can just hear it now. But for me, I'm going to I'm going to put him in classic Ghostface. Ooh, that's a very I know that's a very unpopular opinion, but for the simple fact that he was able to orchestrate this entire thing and set this whole thing into motion, and basically, if you believe that he was the only killer in Scream 3, basically did the entire film all by himself. He carried on all the burden of killing all the people in Scream 3. He went through all this trouble to track Sydney down. Um so honestly, yeah, I can't put him anywhere else but classic Ghostface, just for the simple fact that he orchestrated it. We wouldn't, like, if it weren't for Roman, Billy and Stu never would have done what they did. So I think that's really important to acknowledge. And I feel like Roman really does not get enough credit. Like I said, do I think he's a bit whiny and a bit, yes, but at the same time, I've never lost a parent or, been abandoned. So I don't know what that's like. So maybe other people can relate to that on a more personal level, I'm sure. But for me personally, yeah, even with the little nitpicky negative things about Roman, I think he's a great killer. Um, and I personally think he deserves more credit than he gets. So, moving on. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Yeah. Moving on to the one and only Ghostface of the entire franchise that I absolutely cannot fucking stand. And I'm not even going to talk about, I'm not even going to talk about where I'm putting him. I'm just putting him in Just Fucking Die Already. Charlie Walker. What can I say about Charlie Walker? He's basically an incel. Like, he's just so, like, his motive for doing what he did, from what I can see, is because Kirby wouldn't be with him. Kirby didn't notice him. He does this stupid little thing when he's, trying to kill Kirby off, where he's like, "Oh, 4 years of classes together and you notice me now." It's just so, like, oh, like, he's just so whiny and so annoying, and I can't fucking stand him. And, like, granted, I do have to give him credit where credit's due, because he has one of the most brutal and memorable kill scenes in the entire franchise when he kills Olivia. That scene is great. Like, he's brutal, and he's, like, great as a killer, in the sense of, basically killing these people in the way he does it and stuff. But as far as him as a person goes, cannot stand him. He's so fucking annoying. And yeah, he is going in. No, he's going in the bottom tier. Like, no question. Jill Roberts. She is classic Ghostface. I fucking love Jill. Um she's my favorite. Personally, she's my favorite Ghostface of the entire franchise. To me, she's the most memorable. Her motive is, personally, in my opinion, the best motive of the entire franchise. I think her motive for doing it is so indicative of today's day and age, with technology and TikTok and all these people becoming famous by really not doing a whole lot, and just going off of looks and stuff alone. Some of these people that, get famous on TikTok and make millions of dollars a year, some of them are literally just dancing in front of a camera. And so basically, Jill's motive is to become famous. She wants to become the new Sydney. And honestly, she's the closest one of all the ghost faces to actually killing Sydney and almost getting away with it. If she would have maybe stabbed her a couple of more times, Sydney would have died and she would have gotten away with it. And I know that there was a different ending to the end of the film, where Jill is getting wheeled out of the house with the reporters, taking pictures and admiring her and asking her questions. That was where the film was supposed to end. That whole hospital scene that we get in the actual cut, that was not originally the ending. So originally Jill actually technically did get away with it, but we didn't know if Sydney was still alive or not. They were supposed to kind of like leave it on a cliffhanger. And unfortunately, with Wes Craven's passing and stuff, I'm sure we, probably wouldn't have gotten the answers that we wanted for a very long time. Um, so I'm kind of glad they ended it the way they did, but I would have almost been really curious to see where they were going to go with Scream 5, if they would have gone that route. Because I know that they were going to do kind of a storyline where Jill goes to college and she's being stalked by a new ghost face that knows what she did. And I kind of like that concept. I kind of think it would have been cool to kind of maybe see Jill actually be one of the only killers in the franchise to actually survive and go on living life and seeing like the implications of her actions. That would have been really interesting. And her just as a character is really interesting. Being Sydney's cousin, and the fact that she is willing to go as far as killing her own mother and her friends and not giving a shit about it because she doesn't care about friends. She just wants to have fans. Like, that is just unhinged psychopath behavior. Like, she is honestly, she's probably the craziest ghost face of everybody in the entire franchise just because of the fact that she just does not give a shit about anything. And the lengths that she goes to try to cover her tracks. The whole this is one of my favorite scenes of the whole franchise is when she beats the shit out of herself. It is so fucking amazing. Like the fact that she's willing to go as far as she does, almost to the point of overkill, where she's throwing herself into walls and she's jumping on coffee tables, and it's just insane. Like it's batshit crazy, and I love every fucking second of it. So for me, Jill is going to be obviously nowhere but classic Ghostface. She is top tier for me. I love Jill. I will always love Jill. So yeah. Moving on to Amber. Um, See, Amber and Richie are kind of tricky for me because when I first watched Scream 5, I wasn't quite sure how I felt about them being the killers. I predicted that they were going to be the killers from pretty early on. I think I predicted Amber was one of the killers in the first like 15 minutes. And I'm pretty sure I predicted that Richie was going to be the killer in probably the first 10 or 15 minutes as well. Um, so I don't know. For me personally, I think Amber, I do like her. I've grown to like her. I think she's funny. She has like really funny moments, especially towards the back half of the film when you find out that she is the killer, when she is revealed to be the killer. She has some funny like lines and the way she does things. Like she does a thing where she's like cornering Sydney in the kitchen and she goes eat eat with it. It's like so funny to me. Like I don't know why, but she's just like the more unfiltered, like less what's the word? She's less, I guess, disciplined than Jill. Because I I feel like if her and Jill were to like team up together, Jill would probably fucking kill Amber off in like 2 seconds because I just feel like Jill would not be able to get along with Amber because I feel like Amber's very spontaneous. She's very like, you know, um I don't know where to put her though because I'm not bored with her and I don't hate her, but I don't know if I want to put her in almost perfect either because she's really not. Like she's very sloppy, and towards the back half of the film she kind of just like her motive is very paper thin. Like the fact that she was doing it basically for the same reason that Stu kind of was in a sense, like she was kind of peer pressured. People on these like forums were like pissed off, and so they kind of pressured her to do this kind of thing. So I don't like her motive exactly, but I also have to give her credit for being the one to actually kill Dewey. And whether or not you believe that she could possibly do that is kind of, whatever to me. I kind of sometimes have to close off the part of my brain that's like, okay, maybe that's a little unrealistic. But I also kind of feel like she could be capable of doing that. Like she might not have the strength of like a grown man, but I think, she got Dewey in a bad situation and he was caught off guard. So I think that whole thing is very likely that she could have done that. So just for the simple fact that she killed off one of the most beloved characters of the entire franchise in Dewey. I'm gonna put her in almost perfect, just for all the things that I, said alone. She also, she kind of does a lot of the heavy lifting in this movie, to be honest with you. She does the whole opening scene with Tara, like she's the one that attacks Tara. She's the one that attacks Deputy Judy in the front yard. Like she does a lot of, she does a lot of kills in this film. So I have to give her credit where credit's due. Is she the most like memorable out of everybody? Not really. She can kind of be annoying at times, but I do appreciate her, and I've grown to kind of like her a lot more. So, moving on to Richie. Um uh I'm trying not to be biased here because I love the actor. And I think he's very hot. He's very attractive. He's a very attractive man. But since this is not a competition based off of looks, I cannot put him in top tier. If it was a competition for looks, he'd be in top tier. But since he's not, I'm going to put him. He's just kind of. Mm, I'm going to put him in I'm bored. He's kind of the more like unmemorable one out of the two, like regarding him and Amber. I just kind of feel like he's just kind of there. And yeah, he has a couple of good moments and stuff. And sure, he does some good kills in this film as well. But I just feel like as far as like I just feel like as far as, and I said the same thing about Amber. I just feel like as far as like motive goes, his is also just kind of meh. Like it's just like okay, and why? Like why did you feel the need to do this? Um and also I predicted him being the killer also pretty early on, so I wasn't that surprised that he was the killer. And um yeah, he does get a really good death scene though. Tara destroys him. So I do really like that scene. And yeah, he does have a couple of memorable lines throughout the film that I enjoy. But for the most part, he kind of just fades into the background for me because he's just kind of there. And, I don't know. I just find him kind of underwhelming and kind of boring. And for me personally, he's just whatever to me. So, but yeah, guys, that's my tier list ranking. And I I know that I probably have some unpopular opinions in here. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. But yeah, I'm curious to see where you guys would put these on your list. And yeah, leave them in the comment section below. I'm excited to see where you would rank these. All right, guys. Well, that was my Scream Killer tier list ranking. I had a lot of fun doing this. If you agree with my picks, if you don't agree with my picks, comment down below. Let me know how you guys would rank these killers. And I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with as far as ranking all these individual killers, because I feel like we all have different tastes. So what I like might not necessarily be what you like, but that's the fun thing. So let's have a conversation down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out my podcast, the We Love Horror podcast. Like I said, you can find it anywhere that you stream podcasts. I have a Patreon, I have merch. I'm on Instagram, TikTok at the We Love Horror podcast. And I hope you guys have a fantastic week. And yeah, let's get ready for Scream 6, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.